Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever the case may be for you, and welcome to this IKoK Chat, the International Coalition of Krones. We're very excited and honored that you have joined us either this evening, either live or in no time, no space by watching the recording once it's placed up on YouTube. Wow, we've got a lot to discuss, a lot going on, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes. Let me go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Essence Ka, founder and one of the Krones of the International Coalition of Krones. I'm a spiritual growth guide and awakening facilitator, a master Metatronic numerologist, an Usui Reiki master teacher, Akashic Record Access Guide, Energy Reader, Translator and Intuitive, Aksha'a Master, a Past Future Life Regressionist, and the list just goes on and on. So once again, thank you. We're very honored that you're here. I'd like to take this time to ask the other two Krones to introduce themselves and say hello. So let's see, Auri'An, would you like to say hello first this evening?
Sure would. Hello, good day from Australia. I'm Krone Auri'An, and I'm really looking forward to today's chat. So much to talk about. And it's a good job that we do record this because it means you can replay all the important stuff and make sure you don't miss anything. I'm an holistic counselor and a meditation therapist. I've also worked for many years in the fitness industry, so I tend to gravitate more towards the physical and emotional aspects of people's lives. But as we've been saying for some time now, you can't separate the physical from the spiritual. And so that spiritual aspect is super important too. I'm a Reiki practitioner, EFT tapping master practitioner, dream weaver, and so much more. A lot of my work's in helping others, especially with those who are struggling with their emotions or are overwhelmed by the happenings in their day-to-day life. Thank you for joining us. Over to you, KŌ B'A JＡng.
Good evening, everyone. Well, actually, hello, bonjour. My name is KŌ B'A JＡng. I live in northern Arizona near Sedona. I'm an intuitive spiritual facilitator and crystal therapist. I've been only living in Arizona for 2 years, but I'm loving it here after 28 years in England. So it's a big change for me. Anyhow, I hope you have pen and paper ready because there is so much to talk about tonight. I hope you'll enjoy it. Over to you, Essence.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, KŌ B'A JAng. Yes, as KŌ B'A JAng stated, we have a lot of information we're going to share tonight. I want to, let's see, start this chat. Oh, my goodness gracious. Here I am. I'm so notorious for this, looking for through all these pieces of papers of notes, but it's okay. The first thing I want to say is tonight's chat is going to be really extremely full. Okay. A lot of information is going to be shared. The reason why is we are getting ready to, for the next several months, normally we have 2 chats a month. We've been doing that ever since we began the IKoK in May of 2020. But for the next few months, for an indeterminate amount of time, but not permanently, we're going to cut the chats down to 1 a month as opposed to 2 a month, simply because life is really busy right now. For myself personally, in my already busy life, I've also taken on the task of becoming certified Tai Chi and Qigong teacher. And so I really have to devote the proper amount of time and energy into completing that certification. My Tai Chi certification will be completed before the end of the year, but my Qigong certification will probably not be completed until approximately May of next year. So we are going to cut the chats down to 1 chat a month for at least the rest of this year, probably, and a possibility into the first part of 2022. But in saying that, we will be periodically posting just videos of other information, things like that. Maybe myself, Krone Auri'An, Krone KŌ B'A JＡ, each of us sort of taking turns in just posting information. Okay, so it's not like an abandoning of the work, but we're just going to have to get condensed a little bit. And it's not just, you know, I have my issues going on, and the other two Krones have things in their life going on that also requires more of their physical time in their everyday life right now too. I do want to let you all know that related to my becoming certified as a Tai Chi and Qigong instructor, right now, while I am in the certification process, I'm offering periodic free classes online. It gives you a chance to, especially if you've never experienced Tai Chi. Right now, I'm only teaching Tai Chi, not Qigong. And it lets me practice teaching, and it lets you experience Tai Chi to see if it's something that maybe you would be interested in making a permanent part of your life. If so, I would love to have you, join me when I do become certified in my regular classes online. And for those who live local, I do plan to open a actual physical studio here where I live in Jasper, Texas. So right now, these classes are free, but once I do become certified, there will be a minimum charge for the classes. But like I said, right now it gives you a chance to try it out and see if it's for you. If you do want to participate in those classes, you will need to private message me either on Facebook, on my page for the Tai Chi work is House of Tai Chi and Qigong. And the website is by the same name, House of Tai Chi and Qigong.com. And you find the link to it on my Facebook page. But you can private message me through Facebook or the website, however, if you're interested. Okay, let's see. I want to go ahead now that we've kind of got that business. Is there any of the other two Krones, do you have any, I'm going to call it business, that you want to mention here before we move in? No? Okay. All right. So with that then, let's go ahead and how we always start these chats. By me reading the couple of the Metatronic numerology IM keyword phrases. It allows us to come together and create that sacred space. It gives us a time to come together, meld our energies, and create the sacred space in which we're going to be working in this evening in this chat. So if you would just relax, take a few deep breaths, and we'll begin. The first IM keyword phrase is that of the 2266 dual frequency. We call this the heart of the IKoK. Its IM keyword phrase says, I am the master of divine balance. Through the remembrance of the singing of the sacred cosmic song of self, I ignite creation of new realities. I am that which rebalances and heals. The next frequency, IM keyword phrase, is that of the 2277 dual frequency. We call this one the four cornerstones of the work of the IKoK. I am the form of the sacred structure of collective reality known through the awakened divine rational mind. I build reality upon the foundation whose cornerstones are honor, integrity, responsibility, and expansion of sacred perspective. I am the master builder of collective galactic realities. Let it be said, I, Krone Essence Ka, we, the Krones of the IKoK, hold no answers that can be considered 100%, nothing finalized. What we do hold are perspectives and possibilities. What we share, the information we share, the teachings we share, once shared, become potentials. Before we step off deeper into tonight's chat and information share, I'd like to start with this. I want to start this energy and information exchange, we call a chat, by sharing a quote from an ancient Chinese philosopher. I always have to stop and think how you say his name, forgive me. And right now it's totally eluding me, so we're just going to go past it, okay? But he says, the effect of life in society is to complicate and confuse our existence, making us forget who we really are by causing us to become obsessed with what we are not. I'm going to say that one more time. The effect of life in society is to complicate and confuse our existence, making us forget who we really are by causing us to become obsessed with what we are not. With that said, I want to say that even though the information we are going to share could possibly add to this confusion that makes us forget who we really are, it also holds the potential of aiding us in more fully remembering who we are by being a tool to be used as a means of widening our perspective of reality. So let's begin. So these are questions and I want to move forward with. So why do we do what we do? Why do we think what we think? Why do we think what we do matters in the long run, in the larger picture of this reality? What is happening in the larger frequency realms that makes us think us doing certain things here, certain things like energy work, intention work, the beliefs that we hold, etc., things like that, actually make a difference here and now or ever? It's kind of what we're going to be talking about tonight. To me, the simple answer to those questions can be answered with two words: quantum entanglement. Or perhaps we could choose the two words of quantum physics. The premise of the concepts of quantum physics on a very basic level, okay, especially the concept of quantum entanglement. Basically stated, quantum entanglement says two objects affect each other's behavior instantly across vast distances. Einstein called this affecting of objects each other across vast distances spooky action at a distance. And by the way, That distance can be across the room or it can be across the universe. And it can be across time. In the language of the spiritual mystics, this same concept is stated as we are all one. Meaning what any one of us does affects every other person, animal, plant, planet, star, solar system, galaxy, this entire universe. This is why we do what we do. That's the reason, simply stated. Now, we're going to spend the rest of this chat talking about a little more of the whys and the how, but more about the hows and the what can we do as the individual we are. How do we make this work? How do we, now that we understand why, because we are all one, we are all connected, and no matter what type of self-esteem issues we may have as the human we are, we matter. What we do matters. How we think matters. How we behave matters. We matter. So let me see, where do we go from here? I think we're going to Baha. Are you ready to share? Yeah, that sounds like that's a very good idea. Thank you. Kabaha held up her deck of cards she had brought. I think that's very good. We'll go ahead and do that and see.
Yeah, like I did the last time. I'm ready.
Okay, thank you.
Tonight, I'm going to share a card from the moon deck. I just felt, I know it's not full moon or new moon today, but I felt like using this deck tonight. So let's see, just to have an idea how this card is going to connect to the chat tonight. Well, what can I say? My community is supportive, loving, and active in the world. I mean, come on. Essence. My community is supporting, loving, and active in the world.
Oh, wow. Okay, absolutely perfect. Yes.
This is perfect. If we look at the last two chats, it's very much connected with that. It's all about the work individually, but within the community and having that impact, like Essence just mentioned, in the collective, but even further than that. So how do we do it? That's the question for tonight.
That, once again, we are human. We love our confirmations. You know, they feed us the fuel that we're looking for, that we desire, that we need, and that we benefit from and work with. So, okay, I want to go ahead before I turn this back over to Kabaha to share what she has to share this evening. I want to talk about a little bit more about the this why we do what we do. Okay. I gave, you know, that answer at the very beginning related to our quantum entanglement. Okay. But now let's kind of look at this more from our, we're going to call it our human perspective. Okay. Right now, in the kind of the what do we need to be doing, if we we know why we do this. We do this because it's what we're supposed to do. It's why we're here. We do it because we matter, because what we do matters. Okay, so in that sense, here's some information to take in and possibly be of assistance to you personally and individually. Okay, in how you can more effectively assist the collective during this time. All right. I'm going to just start off with my little bullet points here, if you will. All right. One, right now it's important to clear as much as possible your personal Atlantean karma. Okay. The reason is this is connected directly to this collective dark night of the soul that the collective consciousness of humanity is currently riding through. All right. That's I'm going to use the term product of the 17.8 ATKI, the Atlantean technology karmic imbalance that came up. This is all detailed information that we've talked about in previous chats. If you're not familiar with it, you can look back on the playlist of the IKoK on YouTube and find that information if you want to get a lot more detailed information. But basically stated, the 17.8 ATKI, Atlantean Technology Karmic Imbalance, is a collective karmic imbalance. In other words, it's a karmic imbalance that belongs to the collective consciousness of humanity. It has, over the last several decades, but the last few years specifically, bubbled to the surface, okay, to be rebalanced, to be worked through. And it's absolute necessary work for this collective to face and deal with and rebalance before we can move forward as a collective, okay? So how we can help personally, because we are all strands of the collective consciousness of humanity, is to do the work on ourselves. And that means look at clearing our personal Atlantean karma. Now, one very good tool for doing that is cord cutting and rewriting sacred contracts. Okay. I have actually on my website and on my SoundCloud account, all right, I put these up several years ago, and they are, I'll be honest, maybe some of the best work that I've ever done, I feel like, for assisting others. They're really powerful tools for helping others to cut the cords, okay? Because there's a, I'm not going to say there's a right way and a wrong way to cut cords, energetic cords, but I will say there are better ways and worse ways to cut cords. Let's put it that way. Okay. So if you go to and you use those two, I highly suggest that you always cut the cords with an individual or a situation, right? And the situation can even be clearing your Atlantean karma. All right. So use those tools, those guided meditations. They're about 30 to 45 minutes long, and they lead you through the process, but do the cord cutting first. I usually suggest waiting a minimum of 2 to 3 days, depending on the individual and the situation. Sometimes a week or more is better, but do give yourself time in between, because it just works better. And then go in and rewrite the sacred contract that you have either with the individual or the situation. And the reason you say, well, why do I need to rewrite the sacred contract? Let me put it this way, simply. When we come into a relationship, okay, of any type, we basically have a contract, a subconscious energetic contract with an individual or the situation. All right, we come in and we say, okay, I'm going to play this part, you're going to play this part, and together we're going to assist each other by playing these parts in our growth, okay? Well, over time, if you're growing, all right, those contracts become obsolete. Think about it this way. If you're working in business, okay, let's say you're employed by a company and you work for them for a certain amount of time, we're just going to pick an arbitrary number, say like 10 years. That's a long time. And you go in under a contract and then 10 years later, and nothing has changed on your contract. You know, in other words, what you're receiving from that contract. All right, your wages haven't gone up, your benefits haven't changed, anything like this, but yet everything else around you has gone up in price, the cost of living, all these things. Well, then that's not a fair contract anymore. It's not, it has served its purpose. So all contracts are meant to be reevaluated periodically. This is the same concept that we have with relationships. As we grow, we change. We're not always the same person, sometimes even 6 months, but definitely after a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you know, there comes a point. It's time to cut the cords to the old relationship, all right, and then rewrite a contract for the new relationship. Now, one thing I want to address here, because a lot of people have this misconception about cord cutting. They think, oh, well, I don't want to cut a cord with this individual because they're very important to me in my life. They think that cutting the cord, an energetic cord, means that they're going to lose that person out of their life. That's not what that means. It's not what that means. Now, sometimes, I'm going to be perfectly honest, sometimes that will transpire if the relationship has served its purpose, all right? But you have to be willing and understand that if that's the case, you're going to go forward. And it may be difficult from the human perspective in a given moment if a relationship ends that you're just so accustomed to. But let's just be honest. Let's just be really honest. We know when a relationship has served its purpose and it's time to no longer either be tied to that relationship at all, but definitely not to be tied to it under the old constraints as the old person that we were. Okay. That now we're feeling, you know, if we're still living under the old contract and it's time to renew, we're going to start feeling like we're boxed in, that we're going to start feeling like we have a loss of freedom. There's all of these things are going to start beginning to transpire, and we're actually going to possibly do more harm to the relationship that we want to save than if we took a chance, okay, of saying, well, is it possible? But I promise you, 9 times out of 10, the relationship is not going to end. One other thing I do want to mention here, though, all right? It's quite possible and really quite common, though, when you do cut cords with a relationship, okay? And even though it's going to carry on, you know, because you're going to rewrite a contract, in the beginning, the other person may respond. Sometimes they'll be angry, they'll be confused. In other words, there'll be tension and strife come about because of it for a short period of time. Because what has happened is you came into the relationship, remember, and you wrote a contract with that individual in that moment that you began that relationship, say 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, you said, okay, this is my part, this is your part, and you set the rules of the game in that contract. Well, when you rewrite the contract, suddenly the other person energetically is going, hey, wait a minute, these are not the rules we've always played by. You're changing. That's not fair. And it makes them angry. That's very common too. Okay. But it's okay. If you understand from this wider perspective what is actually transpiring when you cut cords and rewrite sacred contracts with other individuals and with situations, all right, then you can move through these stressful times, if you will, of readjustment until you fall into the new contract and it begins working much more easily because it makes sense. You can go through your human mind filter, let's say when the other person, you know, becomes angry because you're no longer playing, you know, you're no longer interacting and feeding their drama the way that you always have. Let's just kind of state it that way. All right. Then they're going to get angry about that because they've always depended on you for that energy source to feed their drama. But after a time when they see that you're going to remain there just in a different way, they will adjust. And quite honestly, the relationship usually becomes better. I have worked with clients in this way over the years so much, and almost inevitably, the relationship becomes a better, stronger, tighter relationship. There may be that period of adjustment where there's tension and stress, but just understand it for what it is, see it for what it is, and work with it energetically. Okay, so that's very important to do right now. The other thing I want to say is, okay, now, so clear your collective your personal Atlantean karma. Okay, do cord cuttings and rewriting of sacred contracts. And do this with other individuals, other situations, but then you're going to come to a point where you've kind of worked through. It's like, okay, I've done all this prerequisite work, this, you know, updating all of these contracts with these individuals in my life, these situations in my life, all of this kind of stuff. Then there's going to come, and I've, you know, worked on clearing my personal Atlantean karma, which, by the way, is not a one-time thing. Just so that you know. All right. There will be, I explain it sort of like this. If you look at cord cutting, all right, let's say the first time you do, especially when we have strong energetic ties to a person or situation, the first time you do the cord cutting, it's like you are loosening, you know, getting rid of, loosening, dislodging, I can't think of the correct word right in the moment, the main artery, okay, that is the cord. So in other words, the strongest. But just like our body, okay, has arteries, veins, and capillaries, okay, these little tendrils, there's going to come a point where you're going to cycle back around. And let's say you got the artery, you know, taken care of that first time. And that's going to be the biggest one. That's really going to be the biggest one. It's definitely almost always the one where the tensions and stresses come into play in a relationship. But then after a certain amount of time, you're going to cycle back around, and then it's going to be time to, oh, well, there's a couple of veins. Okay. In other words, they're smaller cords. They're not anywhere as major as those artery cords, those main artery cords, but they're still there. They're still attachments, and you'll need to cut those. And once again, sort of, you might not need to totally rewrite the contract once you do that, but you may want to look at some details of the new contract that you wrote with the individual or situation. And more time is going to pass by. And then there's going to be, oh, okay, well, there's another little thing. And maybe it's just these little tendrils like capillaries. Okay. It's, if you see it the same as that, okay. Or, you know, even the roots of a tree, you have large ones and smaller ones, and they, you know, reach out. It's the same principle, the same concept with cord cutting. Okay. So after all of that work, and don't rush it, do the work. Because if you rush it, one, you're going to cause yourself a lot of drama. I'm just going to be honest. And it's not going to be effective anyway, bottom line. So do the work, but then there will come a point, all right? And that point's going to be, as the matter of like when, how much time, that's going to be very personal to the individual, all right? But then there's going to come a time where it's going to be time for you to cut the cords with your old self, do this same process with your old self and rewrite your sacred contract with yourself. You will be totally surprised and amazed at the difference just this work makes if you take it on seriously and do it in the way that it's meant to be done. Like I said, go to SoundCloud or my website, either one. Put in, if you go to SoundCloud first, put in the search box Essence Ka. Once you find that, you put in chord cutting with solfeggio. And the reason it's chord cutting with solfeggio is because I have solfeggio music playing in the background of this guided meditation. Do not do the rewriting of the sacred contract first. Do the chord cutting first, and then the rewriting of the sacred contract, giving yourself a bit of linear time in between. The other thing that is really important right now, and it is also related to this 17.8 ATKI, which, by the way, and the 17.8 ATKI, that's the Atlantean Technology Karmic Imbalance. It has a direct connection to even this pandemic. I've talked about that before, that on a subconscious level, all right, the collective consciousness of humanity said, we need a global experience, literally a global experience that every human, because every human is what is the entirety of the collective consciousness of humanity, is going to be affected by in one way or another. And we all know that each of us have been affected by this in different ways at different levels. Okay. But it was this that we actually created as a collective, as a growth opportunity experience for the collective. We'll talk about that in some detail later on another chat, or I might even just talk about that, giving a kind of an overview of that in detail at another time. But right now, something that's very important, okay, is we need, and I've talked about this already, we need to stay focused on our personal decision for what we want our life to be about, what we want to be happening in our life, what we want it to look like, what we're going to be doing with our life, okay? And taking steps in that direction. Because with the May 2020, the May 2022 Scorpio full moon, we are going to hit a point where we are going to like set into place what our life, our personal life, is going to be about, what it's going to look like, what we're going to be focused on, what we're going to be doing for the next 10 to 25 years. That's a long time. It's not just the next 6 months. Okay. So it's vital that you stay focused on your personal decision for what you want your life to be about, look like, what you'll be doing, etc., and be taking steps in that direction. You don't have to be finalized and be like, doing 100% what it is you're trying to build, let's just say, for the next, 10 to 25 years by May of next year. But you need to be well on your way. You need to be focused. You need to have made that determination, and you need to be taking steps in that direction. Okay. Now, with that said, you're like, well, what if I don't? What if it's not what I want it to be? Okay. Well, I'm not going to say it's going to be set in stone. In other words, that you can't change it, because you can change it, but it's going to be extremely difficult, bottom line. You will have a much harder time making changes in the direction of your life after next May. So it's very important. So these tools that I've just talked about here, this cord cutting, this rewriting of sacred contracts, okay, the rewriting of the sacred contract with ourself, with our old self, is very important. It is very important. But you cannot just gloss over all of the prerequisite stuff, okay, which is clearing up the other situations, relationships. In other words, that has to be done first. It's kind of like what I'm hearing, to use as an example, is like you don't come in and mop a muddy floor. First, you have to sweep, you know, in other words, there's big clumps of mud all over the floor. You have to sweep that up, because if you just put a wet mop on a pile of dirt, you're going to create mud. I don't know, you know, maybe it's one of my pet peeves. It's why that came forward that way. Okay, let's see. Now, that's on the personal level as to the why we're doing this. Now let's take a look at why we're doing this more from the collective level. Now, remember what I just said about being focused about what you want your life to be for the next 10 to 25 years. Remember what I said in the beginning of this chat about the quantum entanglement, about why we're doing this, about it affects, you know, this entire universe. We're that important, each of us individually. Okay, we literally have an effect. All right. Related to the 17.8 ATKI that I talked about, and this collective dark night of the soul that the collective consciousness of humanity is currently traveling through, by approximately, and excuse me for not, forgive me for not remembering these dates exact. Of course, there's never a line in the sand. Even the dates that I give are approximations. All right. Now, I will say the shorter ones, they're a little more exact, simply because there's shorter cycles involved, but we won't go off into all of that. But with the 17.8 ATKI, the reason it's so vital that this collective, that we get this rebalanced, is because we are in the process now, and it began in 2020, and it's going to take it. We have as a collective, we have approximately, let me go back in my files, my inner files. We have approximately 20 to 45 years from 2020, if I'm remembering correctly. Okay. Before, as a collective, we make a final decision as to which reality timeline experience we're going to choose to travel down for the next 13,000 plus years. This is why it's important. This is why what you do as the individual you are right now is important. We're not looking at just you or me as the individuals we are. We're looking at this work. Yes, we are important. Yes, we have to do our work. And yes, we're the ones who benefit from our personal work. But the entire collective benefits from that personal work. And that's really, if you want to know the bigger truth, why we're here. You know, we talk about we're star seeds. We came here at this momentous time on this momentous memory point on the fabric of space time, to be a part of this grand adventure and this grand leap in consciousness. That's why we're here. That's why. This is that quantum entanglement. It's not just about me or you or us. It's about this entire collective consciousness of humanity. And in all honesty, it's not even about just that. It's about this entire universe and every form of consciousness that exists within it. You're that powerful that you have an effect on that. That's a big responsibility. Take it seriously. I'm just going to share, and this is just reminder, because really everything that I've talked about here is just reminding you of everything that I've already talked about in previous chats. If you go back to a chat in July of 2020, July 22nd of 2020 to be exact, I believe it was, we did a chat called the 777 Days of Tears. And in that, I gave some dates again. And this, like I said, this is just to refresh your memory. This is just to say, you know, almost I'm going to say be that pep talk of, okay, come on, we can do this. This is what we're here to do. We're going to look at it like that even. So I'm just going to refresh your memory about what's going on, because I know right now so many people are having a hard time. I mean, December of 2019, the pandemic started. We're still in that. We're moving forward. I mean, things are changing. They're getting a little better in some ways related to this virus and this pandemic, but it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not over because the work of this collective dark night of the soul and rebalancing this collective karmic imbalance is not over. So I just want to refresh your memory so that you don't forget and fall into what I'm hearing to say is the trap of despair, because it's going to be really easy to do that right now. It's been very easy to do that for over a year now. So if you remember this collective dark night of the soul back in July of last year, I stated it began basically right there. Remember, once again, these dates are approximations. Excuse me. All right. And it's going to run from July 22nd of 2020 and peak. And here's the key. It's going to peak on around September 7th. In other words, the beginning of September of 2022. And I said there would be 3 phases of this climb up the mountain to peaking. All right. Because what happens when something peaks, it's like, oh, it's at its worst, if you will. But then it's still not over. It's just peaked. And then it slowly begins its descent back down into calmer energies, let's just say. So stage 1, we've passed through that. We got through that one. That was from July 2020 through early April of 2021. And I said that stage was going to be extremely difficult. I don't think anyone would argue with that. It was extremely difficult. I know it was for me, because none of us are exempt. We all have to ride this train. If you're here, you're riding the train. Okay, stage 2, what we're in now. From early to mid-April of 2021 to the end of 2021. So basically to the end of this year. And really a significant point in that will be the December solstice, just FYI. And we'll be doing work there at that point. And what I said about that stage, I said it's going to get even more difficult, but in a bit of a different way in the physical realms. Many will feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually very tired and just want to stop. They want to give up and get some rest. It's going to be so intense. This is what I said, this is when we need to keep a close eye on each other. So that is right now, okay? It's always important, but it's becoming ever more so important for community, of like-minded, that we come together, that we support each other, you know, in every way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Then from mid-December of this year, or late December, mid to late December, through early September of 2022, that's phase 3. I wrote, the overwhelming sense of desperation and just wanting to quit is going to make so many, awakened and unawakened alike, feel numb and hopeless. But as odd as it may sound, this sense of numb hopelessness is what will be the trigger to ignite the spark of hope. That it might just be possible that humanity will survive and actually come together and create a new reality that will lead to the light of a new day. So energies are going to intensify. Life as human on planet Earth is going to intensify. But if you know and you understand what's going on and you have the tools to work with it, to work with the energies, to work for yourself and to work with the collective, it will be so much better and easier. Okay. KŌ B'A JＡ̃, I'm going to turn this over to you now. And if I remember right, I believe that card you pulled said something about community coming together. Did it not?
Absolutely. So how interesting is that?
Right.
Part of the work that needs to be done. Now let's talk about crystals. Crystals are very ancient. There have been crystals forming within the earth since the earth solidified into form. So think about it. You hold a crystal in your hands containing the wisdom of the ages. Isn't it wonderful? Crystal energy is not a new concept. It's been around for thousands of years with ancient civilizations using the energy of crystals. From the Indian sages to the Native Americans, Aztecs, Celts, Egyptians, and many more. There are legends about the lost civilization of Atlantis that tell of myriad uses for crystal, for generating energy, for transportation, for communication, and healing purposes. The ancient civilization of Lemuria, whose people dwelled in beautiful crystal cities and mined mainly for quartz crystals and lapis lazuli, some of which were crushed into powders to make paste used on body for healing purposes. As the end of their time on Earth was coming to an end, the Lemurians programmed this crystal to teach their messages of oneness and healing that would be revealed when the energy on Earth was ready to receive them. The Lemurians then planted or seeded the Lemurian crystals encoded with their ancient knowledge and wisdom to be found centuries later by us. The legend continues to state that Lemurian seed crystals are planted in a grid pattern over the surface of the Earth and beyond to other stars and dimensions. At the end of the third Atlantis kingdom, which destroyed itself, quartz crystals were dispatched or taken to Africa, Greece, the Middle and Far East, and to Great Britain. Then through the civilization of the Egyptians, the Atlantean knowledge filtered. They primarily used crystals in their jewelry for protection and health. They also used crystals cosmetically. Lapis lazuli and malachite were crushed into powder and used as the eyeshadow known as kohl, K-O-H-L. So although much of the knowledge and awareness of the use of crystals diminished through the centuries, some wisdom was carried through time by shamans or medicine people of various tribes recognized and used crystal stones as a tool. The Chinese called crystal Su Qing, which means water essence. They also called it the living stone because they believed it pulsed with life. Jade was highly valued in ancient China. Around 1,000 years ago, Chinese emperors were buried in jade armor. There were also burials with jade masks formed around the same period in Mexico. The Japanese believed crystal was a solidified breath of the sacred dragon. I find it fascinating that archaeological excavations carried out all over the world have shown that mankind has always used precious stones and somehow knew how to use them. As I explained in the last chat, crystal stones have a very small electrical charge within their structure, measurable with the correct instrument. Within each of our bodies, we all have trillions of cells with its own tiny electrical charge. If something is wrong with a particular part of our body, something has disturbed the electrical balance of our cells in the affected areas. Microscopic electric charge from a crystal, when held or placed on the affected part of the body, will balance the body's own charge and help to give a chance to our body to heal itself. Crystals attract and release energies. They are like at the same time a transmitter and a receiver. When you place or hold a crystal over the body, it interacts with the body's chakras and promotes physical and mental wellness. Used in certain way can also improve your concentration and creativity. It can also promote physical, emotional, and spiritual cleansing. Crystals vibrate at the same pitch as humans and maximize the healing abilities we already have. Every crystal, just like every human, has a different energetic frequency. It depends on a few different factors like the size, the composition, and the color, which is determined by the mineral content. Whatever frequency we are as humans, our vibration is very unstable and very easily influenced. It changes constantly as we are exposed to other people, social media, the news, traffic, the weather, good news, bad news, our memories, etc. Crystals, on the other hand, have a super stable energy frequency that does not change. Why? They are made up of fixed, regularly repeating perfect geometric pattern of molecules. And they maintain their perfect stability with no effort. Exactly the opposite of our constantly changing, non-stable human nature. So why does the stability of a crystal matter? Well, more stable energy equals more powerful energy. And powerful energy can influence the energies around it. Therefore, crystal can so profoundly influence unstable, less powerful energy. So why does crystal color matter? The colors we see are specific light frequencies. Red, for example, has a much lower frequency than purple. The same goes for our own bodies. If you look at the chakra diagram, the lowest chakra, the root chakra, is shown in red, which aligns with the low vibrational frequency of that chakra. Your crown chakra, on the other hand, is shown in purple, as it is the highest vibration chakra and the highest vibration color of the 7 main chakras. Because of this vibrational match between light colors, you can usually choose your crystal to match the chakra you want to balance. For example, blue sapphire are good for your throat chakra, which is shown in blue. just like amber and yellow topaz crystals align with your yellow solar plexus chakra. There are a few exceptions like rose quartz, which is connected to the green heart chakra. But in general, this is a good place to start. Not only do crystals come in all sorts of colors, but they are also found in many different shape formations. Just like the colors of the crystals convey unique meanings, crystal shapes also matter. Experts say the structure of a crystal does not change the type of energy it emits, but the shape does affect the way you receive the energy. Crystal shapes can help to amplify your intention and your experience with them. Choosing a crystal shape that pairs well with your intention will increase and magnify your transformation. I will give you two examples. The first one, double terminated crystal. Double terminated crystals have a single point at each end, formed naturally or being cut and polished. Double terminated crystals have their energy flowing both ways. These crystals are used to take energy in at one point, transmute it, and emanate it at the other point. This makes them excellent tools for energy healers and Reiki practitioners to cleanse, energize, and balance the chakras. They're also especially useful to facilitate balance within any given energy fields. An example of this is where a root chakra may be overreactive and the sacral chakra underactive. Place a double terminated crystal between them and the two chakras will self-balance. Double terminated crystals are also excellent in crystal grids to allow energy transfers and maintain a high energy level for longer periods of time. So I've selected one. It's not mine, actually, it's my husband's. We're doing so much work in the house. Most of my crystals have been packed, but anyway, it's a quite interesting one. It's called, I don't know if you can see it quite well there. It's green, it's beautiful. It's called Seraphinite. It's spelled Seraphinite. It's a very powerful crystal. Not only helps you to connect with the spiritual world, but helps you to detoxify both physical and spiritual. So if you look at it, we've got the first single terminated this way and this way, so double, basically. Beautiful crystal, but I tell you, it's tiny, but the energy is wolf. Amazing. Okay, the second one, I'm talking shape, I've selected is the Tao crystal, spelled D-O-W. A Tao crystal's point has 6 faces, 3 triangles, alternating with 3 7-sided faces. It's very complicated. So what I'm going to do is show you a picture with a diagram. Hang on. And you're going to see what it looks like from there. So you can see the 3 of them there. And as you can see, those 3 don't have to be of a sort of similar shape. I know Essence got one or another diagram to show us.
Yeah, here we go. This diagram shows you, like she said, this shows, you know, the 7 faces, the 7 face sides, if I got that up right. Okay. Equal, but they won't be equal. I mean, I have my Tao right here and it's hard to see.
Yeah, I know.
You can't really see, but yeah, it's just too hard to get that with this lighting. Sorry about it.
It's very difficult, but you can have a look at it. I mean, if you are all interested.
I'll try to take a picture of it maybe and put it on Facebook or something.
So this crystal incorporates the properties of both a channeler and a transmitter. Contact with this crystal gradually brings about the understanding that in essence, everything exists in a state of perfection. We can learn how to exist in the material world while maintaining the perfection of our spiritual sense. We can use a Tao crystal in the following situations: conscious process of mental and emotional reprogramming, relationships, to impregnate the aura, chakras, organs, and cells with the essence of spiritual perfection, for health maintenance, and to support a healing process. When we are looking for guidance during times of change, some crystal stones can help us during this phase. In the last chat, Essence explained to us that our focus should be on holding a clear vision energetically, rationally, and emotionally for what we want our lives, path, and spiritual growth opportunity experiences to be for the next 10 to 12 plus years. The following 3 crystals could help you creating an easy movement to change. They are selenite, satin spar, so spell S-A-T-I-N, then another word spar, S-P-A-R, and soapstone, S-O-A-P, S-T-O-N-E. There is a confusion related to selenite and satin spar. Crystal shops stock satin spar but tend to label it as selenite. So what is the difference? Both selenite and satin spar are from the gypsum family. They basically have the same similar compound formula. Selenite is clear, almost transparent, whereas satin spar is fibrous and milky. Selenite is rarely available. We see satin spar in ample supply on the market. Satin spar shares a lot of similar properties as selenite. However, satin spar is more gentle. Selenite's properties include bringing clarity of mind, clearing confusion, and dispelling negative emotions, opening the crown chakra, and can help you connect to your higher self and the divine consciousness. It can also help you ground yourself and anchor to the earth. This brings calming and grounding properties. Satin spar can also help with creative and energy blockages, as well as increasing your vibration, as it also a high vibrational stone. For this reason, also it can help you connect to your higher self and divine consciousness. The third crystal is soapstone. I don't have one with me now. I know I had one several weeks ago because I bought.
I have one. Hang on.
Oh, you got one. I bought basically a beautiful little, how can I call it, unicorn in soapstone for Alan's. Yeah, that's me.
I have a soapstone cylinder.
Yeah.
Soapstone is actually soft enough you can write with it. And my husband was a pipeline welder, and they have soapstone pencils. I mean, you can buy these at like Lowe's, these soapstone pencils, and that's what they would mark on pipe and stuff with. You can literally write. It's like almost like chalk. I wanted to mention here too that the gypsum, when you were talking about the satin spar and the selenite being of the gypsum family, that is what drywall board is.
Yeah.
That has got gypsum in it. So technically, if you have drywall on your walls in your home, you're kind of surrounded by.
Yeah, by it. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, and it's you find it easily anywhere, soapstone. It's commonly believed to have a soothing, balancing effect while creating a positive, calming energy. Soapstone is valued for the way it helps one prepare for changes in life. It is also thought to promote truth, logic, as well as rational and creative thinking. I would like now to talk about our connection to crystals. There is a wonderful quote by Rumi that says, "What you seek is seeking you." I know there are different meanings, but for me, it's related very much with the connection of crystals and people. In my experience of working with people and crystals, I've observed this is to be true time and time again. Have you ever felt mysteriously drawn to crystal or certain stones? It's highly likely that those stones represent energy that you need in your life. Not only that, it is usually energy that is needed in a big way. Experiences with these stones are often intense. However, they then fizzle as soon as you've received the healing or energetic tune-up that was needed. So you get this new crystal and you're excited to start working with it. You wear it or meditate with it, but instead of feeling good from it, you feel off or negative or sick. You have bad dreams or get angry when you hold it, or some terrible memory surfaces. Maybe you cannot sleep at all when it's around, or you get a bad headache, or feel even more anxious, stressed, or depressed than before. You thought crystal was supposed to help you feel better, not worse. What does it mean? I will always remember my first adverse reaction to a crystal. It was malachite. I placed it on my heart chakra for 15 minutes during a meditation, and for the next 3 days, I was a complete and total hot mess, despondent, depressed, and crying. I did some research and found out that malachite draws repressed emotion to the surface. So that's probably why I got such a reaction. It is a warrior stone. It was used in ancient Rome, where warriors used to carry a piece, giving them strength and courage. A word of warning. Before using powerful crystals like malachite, moldavite is another one, and other deep transformational crystals, be aware of the possible bad reactions. Most of the time, crystals do some deep healing work. Spiritual healing, just like physical healing, is not always comfortable. Bear in mind, they can trigger past lives energy. Occasionally, a crystal will trigger a detoxification process, which bring up negative energy or emotions so that they can be released. Sometimes some crystals are not compatible with our energies. In very unusual cases, you might get a strong reaction from a crystal that is not right for you. It could simply be that the crystal is too strong for you or clashes with your energy. In any cases, always listen to your body. I do not recommend you expose yourself to a crystal if it makes you feel bad, unwell, or you experience a form of discomfort. These crystals are on a mission. They come into your life, help you create rapid shifts in physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, and then they may be ready for their next big mission. Finally, tonight, I would like to share with you my latest addition to my crystal collection, Herkimer Diamond. Spelled Herkimer. With its pure crystal light, it clears the chakras, opening channels for spiritual energy to flow. It stimulates conscious attunement to the highest level and is particularly helpful in activating and opening the crown and the third eye chakras. I will tell you more about it in the next chapter, but I just wanted to show it to you. This beauty. It's just, wow. I've worked with it already, and it's an energy I never experienced before. It's very, very different to any other energy, I mean, you can get from a crystal such like this one, you know, quite powerful. As a conclusion, I would like to remind you some important points. Crystals are only instruments, powerful, of course, but only instruments. As is the case with any tools, they are not essential. However, they do make things easier. Above all else, try to be loyal to your intuition. When you feel a strong impulse or a clear indication to choose a crystal, this is more valuable than information you get from a book. If you honestly believe and it makes sense to you, then it will work. If you have tried everything to make it work and still cannot feel crystal energy, the challenge, as I see it, is this. We feel the need to compare ourselves to one another, to compare our experiences to others. And this is the point where we become frustrated. Our ego may whisper in our ear. We ask, why them or her or him, etc. Why not me? We effectively limit our experiences because we choose to think we cannot do the same. Stop comparing. Surrender to the experience. The mind is very powerful. That is simply the ego challenging you. Have faith, trust, and believe that your crystals can do the work for you. I really hope, crystals and stone can take you on a beautiful journey, connecting and bonding with their energies. It only takes a few minutes to sense their energies. It is an important part of learning to effectively use them. Developing this energetic sensitivity helps you to connect with your intuition, as well as enhancing your personal relationship with your crystals. And one thing before I finish, just wanted to show something to you. It might not be for you, but I'll show you how I started organizing my information for each crystal. You know, I started gathering crystals about 10 years ago. Every time I would buy a crystal, I will of course cleanse it and charge it, would sit down for a few minutes just to sense the energy. And I've got that. That's my Bible. Where by alphabetical order, I would list the crystal, the name, a few properties, a few words representing the properties of the crystal, but also some information on how I felt about the energy. And it does help. Because sometimes, you know, after a while, you sense different crystals, the energies, and you're thinking, oh, this one sounds or feels familiar to another one. And I would check the information in my journal. So that's an idea I wanted to share with you. Might not be for you, but that's the way I do it. Anyhow, over to you, Essence.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful information. I want to, if it seems like I'm going to go ahead and mention here, if I can get it out of my mouth, that our next chat, like I said at the beginning, we are going to cut the chats down to once a month. Our next chat, I believe, we have now tentatively set for July 9th, if I remember correctly. And in that one, we're going to be talking about and teaching different ways, sharing different information, tips, tools, techniques, all these different things about how to work with energy. All right. I want to very quickly, I have just, I know I showed it on the last one. This is a satin spar cylinder. Okay. And this is a piece of selenite, a selenite plate. And you can see the difference. You can see how the satin spar is milky and the selenite is clear. So when you, and technically, in like stores that are selling stones and stuff, like KŌ B'A JＡ said, they very often list satin spar as selenite. And technically they're both a form of selenite. So it's not that it's not true. It's just this is satin spar selenite. Okay, where this is the true selenite. And remember, they're both forms of gypsum. Okay, just so that you can see those differences there. You know, that way when next time you go into or start looking to purchase a piece, you know what you're looking for. If it's got that clear, and you can feel the difference in the energies, you know, when you hold them, that's for sure. Okay, I think what we're going to do, I'll be honest, I have about 20 pages, literally, of handwritten notes on these stones that KŌ B'A JＡ talked about, the information that came forward, including the Metatronic numerology and frequency for each stone. But I'm not going to share that here. It's a massive amount of information in and of itself. So I will just have to do that separately. And like I said, that will be maybe one of those, because the other two Krones and I have talked, since we're going down to one chat a month, we're going to sort of take turns in posting shorter videos onto our YouTube channel to sort of fill in during the month. Okay. And that would be a good thing for me to put on that. So be looking for that one. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you, Auri'An, and let you share your information.
Okay, thank you, Essence. Awesome information, KŌ B'A JＡ. First, before I start, I want to offer an apology. My housemate's just come home after 6 weeks of being away. He's tiptoeing around like an elephant, trying to be quiet. So if there's any odd bangs and clatters and wallops, door slammings, things like that in the background, please accept my apology. He's now going to tiptoe real quiet because he's just heard me say that. Okay, here we go. In the last chat, I delved a little deeper into how we deal with our problems. And I talked about the need to take action steps. Today, I'm going to delve a bit deeper again. This issue of needing to take action steps is a fundamental building tool that we're not using correctly, and that is in many ways holding us back from being able to come together in a way that can highlight the future that we want to see this collective moving towards. On the 5th of May, people all around the world started 108 days of sacred meditation. And the aim of that meditation is to create the necessary metamorphosis for the collective consciousness of humanity and to bring into existence the energy of its bliss. Metamorphosis is the changing of one thing into something totally different. Think of a caterpillar changing into a butterfly. At the moment, we, the collective, we are the caterpillar. And all we are thinking of is satisfying our personal needs, what we as individuals want. And bliss, what is our bliss? What is it that we, the collective consciousness of humanity, are really seeking for the future of our species? I know I have my ideas as an individual of what I want the future to look like, but I'm only one tiny little third of the collective, and I can easily envisage how I want it to look for the next 10 years or so. But after that, it gets a bit tricky. And when we stretch it out like 50 years, well, I pretty much expect to be pushing up daisies then by then. So do I need to worry about that? Well, yes, I do, for several reasons. First, how I act upon the choices I make today will affect those who are living when I, in this human body, am not living anymore. Think about that. Second, and this is going to upset a lot of starseed who think they're finished with this human life and are going home when they exit this world. That's so wrong. The only thing that we're finished with is the work we first came here to do. That's where that strong feeling of finalizing comes from. It's the work that's been completed. The planet is now at a sufficiently high level that the energy can support the great awakening that is happening. That's the work we came here to do, to raise the energy of the planet sufficiently to support these current times. And we've done that job. But we have more work to do. And you know that just by looking around you. We're not at the end game yet, and we will be back. Think about how you want the world to look when you do come back. In 50 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. If we make bad choices now, we don't get to escape the consequences. And third, as Essence spoke of before, we are all one. We have a habit of just saying those words without feeling right into what they mean, without understanding the depth and the emotion and the energy. We are all one. We are fractal parts of each other and of Source. And the easiest way I know to understand that is with your hand. Each finger is individual. You can't see where they are one, but when you move your hand, you see that they're all part of the same thing. And that is all part of the same thing. We are all one. If I smash a finger, the rest of my body knows about it. And what we do to each other, we do to ourselves in the same way. If we don't make the right choices, we will hurt other people, other beings. And that means we are hurting our own self. It's a tricky one to get your head around, I know, but it is truth. Now, I'm going to take a little sidestep here, and I might get back to that lot later. But right now, I want to stop and have a think about the choices that we are making right now. Choices as individuals. Choices pertaining to the stuff that I've been talking about for the last couple of chats. I'm going to step right into the physical side of our lives. A month or so ago, my guides gave me a nudge to go check out a French philosopher called Rene Descartes. I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of him. I'd heard of the name, but I didn't know anything about him. And the thing that my guides were sending me to look at was that he is the chappie who is responsible for our current medical point of view. He decided he was going to prove the existence of God. And along the way, he worked out, erroneously to my mind, that the physical and the spiritual aspects of the human can actually survive independent of each other. The upshot is that medicine started to view the human body as a mechanical system. The soul, spirit, mind had nothing to do with the mechanics of the human body. And over time, we were taught that we cannot heal our own bodies. We need the equivalent of a car mechanic. We were taught that we need the aids of doctors and drugs. And you know what? There are lots of instances where that is totally correct. We do need our modern medical knowledge and expertise. But the problem is that we've come to a situation where when we are unwell, we visit a doctor and we hand over our symptoms. We give the doctor verbally, written, however, but we give the doctor a list of all the things that we are experiencing, and we look to the doctor to fix it. We abdicate responsibility for our health, for our ill health. We don't recognize and acknowledge that the disease could be something of our making. Maybe our food choices, or lack of exercise, or allowing stress to get out of control. So we go to the doctor, we hand over our list of woes. Hopefully we get a diagnosis, and we usually walk away with a script for some form of medication. Again, nothing wrong with that when it's needed. But the problem is that we have generally abdicated responsibility for ourselves. We don't look after ourselves in the right way, our physical body. And when we include our spiritual self, because we now know that the physical body and the spiritual body are not separate, we find again so many people who are unwell, who ask for energy healing, for prayers. We've all seen them on Facebook, and they are expecting the results to be just like a doctor visit. They ask for help. And lots of people do send healing energy and prayers, and that's just lovely. But what are the people receiving this energy doing with it on their end? Are they taking action steps to fix the situation that's come about? Or are they waiting for that energy just to flow over them and through them and fix all the problems without them having to do the hard yakka? In the last chat, I spoke of how I used the energy that was shared with me when I was seriously ill. I outlined the action steps I took. I talked of how I took strength from the care of those people around me. And I also mentioned that none of that energy was given in a way that's considered as spiritual healing energy. But energy is simply energy, whatever its source. It was the practical care of my doctors, physios, chiropractors, the people I worked with, family, friends, and even strangers that I received. And I mentioned how I had a choice. I could use that energy to accept my illness, to accept that wheelchair and the slow decline that would have followed. I could have ignored and negated all that energy and assistance given to me and slumped into despondency and depression about my situation, and still ended up in that wheelchair with that slow decline. I could have taken that energy and done nothing with it, and then perhaps got angry because it didn't work, and despondent and depressed. But I chose differently, and it was that choice that has led me directly to being here talking with you today. Choices. I'm going to tell you another story. When my first husband died, a lot of people helped me. And on the day of his funeral, we heard of a group of thieves in the area who were actually breaking into the homes of the bereaved people while they were at the funeral. That is the lowest of the low. One of my sister-in-laws got on the phone to a friend and asked her to house sit while we were all out. No problems, the friend said. Let me just get someone to collect my son from school. Later, I heard that the person collecting the boy had also had to change some appointments in order to help. And that, of course, affected the people the appointments were with. There was this domino effect of people helping people. And only those closest to me, just 2 or 3 people, actually had an idea who I was, let alone understand that they were ultimately helping with my safety and the protection of my home. Most of those people in that domino of people didn't know me at all, but they helped. They helped in order to help that person, help that person, help that person. People helping people. I want you to now widen your horizon a bit and think about the people who are sending that energy to those who request it, spiritually or physically. They're everyday people with everyday problems, just like you and I. People helping people. People who are struggling themselves and still helping other people. Wouldn't it be nice if that could circle around and that those people giving help could also be helped? Well, they can. And this is where you come in. Action steps. Of course, I'm talking about action steps. We have to take them. Energy is just energy. Think about electricity. That's a form of energy. And your coffee maker. The energy, the electricity is just sitting there until you take the action step and turn the machine on. And that's when the magic happens. And that's what we're going to do. I want you to be the switch that allows the energy to flow. I want you to take the action steps right where you are in your community. Give some of your energy, not the spiritually energetic way, you can do that, but rather in a physical way. Go volunteer your time and energy somewhere where it is needed. Be someone who helps someone. There are always organizations who cry out for volunteers. My own town, there is a very dedicated and small group of people who are seen everywhere because there is a need for volunteers and not enough people who are willing to share their energy. And it's not just about helping people that needs to happen. Animals need that help. And so too does our countryside. Yesterday, I was cycling home along the path that runs next to the ocean. It's a beautiful area. Tourists drive in, they park up at their lunch. And I saw wedged in between two low branches on one of the trees. Wedged in there was 2 plastic bottles. They didn't get there naturally or by an animal. A human had placed them there. A human that obviously couldn't take the rubbish home with them or put it in the rubbish bin that was about 20 paces away. What they thought would happen is beyond me. It blows my mind to think that some humans are so lazy and dirty and uncaring. Help nature by not being a human that causes damage or inflicts pain. Be a human that looks after the place we live. Don't walk past things like that. Unfortunately, we do need to tidy up after those people. This is about people helping people. People helping animals. People helping our environment. People helping physically, practically, purposefully. This is the first step to healing our reality. This is the 166 dual frequency I am keyword phrase in action. Let me refresh your memory. I am physical form perfected. I am somatic and psychic disease, experienced and acknowledged. I am healed. Now think about that, not as me, the individual, but me, one with our species, one with our planet, me, one with Gaia. If we as a collective, as people, as a species, can't undergo that metamorphosis, can't take the action steps we need in order to change from a caterpillar to a butterfly, if we can't make the leap into doing the physical work we need to do to make the change, well, what's the point? Why carry on? We might just as well pack up our bags right now. Thank you. Essence.
Beautiful. Thank you. Powerful message. A lot there to consider. A lot there to remind us. I'm actually led to share once again here the message of that ancient Chinese philosopher that I started this chat with. The effect of life in society is to complicate and confuse our existence, making us forget who we really are by causing us to become obsessed with what we are not. Okay. There's been some amazing information shared here, different types. Remember, this is about, we cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. I've got 2 more messages to share, and this chat's a little longer than usual, but that's because, like we said, we're going to start packing these with more information because we're going to once a month now. So if you bear with me, I want to finish up with these next 2 messages. In the write-up for this chat, I did mention that we were going to be looking at some of the more difficult, and Auri'An's already touched on that, the difficult, and really taking a hard look at self as individuals, self as a collective. All right. And honestly, self as star seeds, as a fractal group collective conscious mind portion of the collective consciousness of humanity. And that's what I want to kind of look at here first. Now, I will be honest, this first message that I'm going to share is a little outside of my comfort zone. It's and I've even this evening waffled back and forth like, oh, I'll just leave that one out. There's enough without it. But I'm not going to. We're going to talk about the hard stuff. We're going to look at ourselves. And we're going to look at ourselves as starseeds, as spiritually awakened, and what's going on within this community. Because we all know there's some problems here. All right. And it's up to us. Now, the second message is, to me, the message of hope that follows. So let's go for it. Here we go. And I have them written out, so I'm just going to read them because we'll move faster that way. I want to share something about what I'm about to share with you here. I had typed this message on my phone's notebook. I do that a lot. I then copied and pasted into Messenger to retrieve it on my computer. So I got on my computer to import it so I could type it up, copy and paste it, type it up to share on this chat. And when I did, I saw a post from Marianne Williamson on Facebook as I logged in. I have no doubt that message what she shared was sent directly to me as a confirmation about sharing what I'm about to share with you here, because, well, in all honesty, the message I'm about to share with you is one that is a bit outside of my personal comfort zone. Here is the message Marianne Williamson shared. Okay, my confirmation. She said, don't think about what people want to hear. Think about what needs to be said. Don't think about whether what you do will get applause. Think about whether what you're doing is in some way beautiful. Don't think about the material results of your effort. Think about whether it would be pleasing to God. Now, I must admit here that my personal choice would not have been the use of the words pleasing to God, but that's just it. It's just a personal choice. Instead, I would have chosen to say something like, think about whether it will be beneficial to humanity. And like I said, that's just a personal choice. So on with the message I want to share with you. Okay, I don't actually usually agree with everything this man says that I'm fixing to read the message from that he shared. But I have to say I do agree with this one statement. That's why I'm sharing it. Okay, it's what caught my attention. And normally I don't even read what he says. And it's Jeff Brown. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with him. It's not that I have anything personally against him. It's just I don't normally resonate fully with what he shares. That's all. So in one way, I personally feel he might have said it in a bit softer manner. But in another way, I think how he stated it is very necessary. Sometimes to shine a light through the fog, You need a powerful, high intensity beam of energy to cut through the density. In a lot of ways, I see what he has said here that I'm getting ready to share with you as really just another way of saying what I'm known for saying, and that is you cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. In this, and I use this term in a broad and general sense, New Age, spiritually awakening, consciousness expansion belief system, star seeds, light workers, all of these terms, okay? Many have fallen into a trap of dogma as deep, as powerful, and as deadly as the mainstream Abrahamic religions they left and hold such disdain for. To state it another way, we've become our own worst enemy. We have become the biggest energy supporters in many ways of what we say we see as and believe to be the very thing, the very beliefs and concepts we see as being responsible for the destruction of our planet and all life upon it, including the human species. We just say it in different terminology. And honestly, we just sit on a different high horse, only stepping down to stand on a pedestal of our own making and choosing. So Jeff Brown said the following. He said, "We don't need your faux forgiveness. We don't need your vipassana meditations. We don't need your perfected asanas. We don't need your detachment practices. We don't need your fake names. We don't need your victim bashing. We don't need your love and light. We don't need your law of attraction. We don't need your wishful thinking. We don't need your feeble affirmations. We don't need your perpetual positivity. We don't need your pseudo transcendence. We don't need your flight from feeling. We don't need your obsession with illusion. We don't need your stillness and silence. We don't need your patriarchal rituals and lineage. And we don't need your in-bullshitment enlightenment. What we need is for you to come down from your world avoidant perch and take all that energy you have been selfishly hoarding and give it back to humanity. What we need is for you to exit your cave of cowardice, put your tender tootsies on the ground, and actually do something to heal our species. What we need is for you to help us shape a new lineage, one that is rooted in a truly inclusive consciousness, not a non-duality that omits everything human from the field, but one that includes all that we are and all of our fellow humans in its unified fold. What we need is for you to understand that all of this is real, and that any spirituality that is bereft of humanness is a collective death knell. We want you want to wake up for real? Stop hiding behind your egoic badges of egolessness and help us heal this bloodied species. So like I said, in a very real way, he just said it in a different way, a little more direct, a little, well, maybe a lot more direct, to be honest, okay? You cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. You cannot sit at home and send energy and not get up and go out and help people helping people. Now, first, I want to ask you, can you take what I've shared here without taking it personally and becoming offended or defensive in any way? If not, then quite likely you're simply just not ready to hear a bolder version of truth. And honestly, that is an indication more personal growth is required on your part. Now, this is not a judgment, and it's not a chastisement. It is simply an observation being shared with you to hopefully help you step outside of your personal comfort zone and take a very difficult but very needed long, hard look in the mirror at self. Personally, I say, take your personal journey, whatever it is. Be offended if that is what you automatically experienced at these words shared here. Don't try to avoid being human. That's what we're talking about. You cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. So don't try to avoid being human and having human emotions and experiences. All I'm asking you to do is really, truly, and honestly look at yourself and see where you are at on your personal spiritual journey and face it head on so you are able to experience being a conscious spiritual being manifest as incarnate in human physical reality and truly and fully consciously experience it. Be a part of it. Become the observer of you. Become the observer of a larger truth. Make contact with the inner alchemist so you can begin the process of preparation of the magical elixir held within that you seek. Remember, what you are seeking is seeking you. That magical elixir that once ingested opens wider and wider vistas of the cosmos to you through your human understanding. We have to be completely honest if we truly, truly want to make a difference, if we truly want to be the cause of that effect across the entire universe that expands consciousness, that takes this universal journey to its heights of bliss. We've got to be honest with ourselves. It starts right here. It starts with the man in the mirror, as they say. Auri'An, KŌ B'A JＡ, anything you would like to add here? Excuse me. Okay. If you can give me just a moment, we'll finish this up. Give me just one moment, please.
Okay, while Essence is busy, I am going to ask you to think about what I said about going out there into the world and giving your energy in a physical manner through volunteering. And we're not having another chat for another month. And during that time, I challenge you to go out and do exactly that. Consider it homework if you wish, but go give your energy in a physical way outside your normal routines. Hope you're up for that.
I say that's an amazing challenge, and start with baby steps. You know, take Krone Auri'An's challenge, make it a baby step. Maybe you're not ready to commit to doing this long term, but do it just once. Just once.
Yeah, what you can do is when you go for a walk, take a bag with you. And if you see any rubbish, pick it up. That's a good start. Doesn't put you outside your comfort zone any, but it helps towards that people helping our environment. Tiny step. Thank you.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay. Speaking of walks. All right. This is the last message I want to share. Okay. So yesterday, at 10:34 a.m., when it wasn't raining, because like it's been raining forever here where I live, and before it got too hot, I went for a walk, a short walk. When I started out, I was thinking about the Tao, the ring past knot, specifically about the clockwise spin of creation and the counterclockwise spin of chaos, and how it is brought into existence, how it works as a propulsion force, that counterclockwise spin of chaos, and how it works as a propulsion force and stabilizing force for the creation of realities, allowing for existence to be experienced within them and things such as that. That's what I was thinking about as I started my walk. Well, on my return lap, and just for the record, this was just about a mile. And by the way, I turned, and it'll be significant a little bit in a moment. I turned on my return lap, and I turned clockwise to come back. I heard Crow calling loudly and loudly and loudly. So I stopped and I looked to see what Crow was making so much noise about, only to find a crow chasing a red-tailed hawk. Well, isn't that interesting? Definitely a message from spirit, I thought. So as I stood there watching this sacred aerial dance, Crow continued to chase hawk as they flew in a circle in a counterclockwise direction. Remember, I'd been thinking about the counterclockwise spin of chaos. That is the propulsion force and the stabilizing force of creating our reality and holding it in boundaries so that we can experience it here. So I got lost. As I stood there watching this sacred aerial dance, Crow continued to chase hawk as they flew in a circle in a counterclockwise direction, not far above the treetops. They circled this way 4 or 5 times. Then they began to fly in a lemniscate pattern for another few laps. For those aren't familiar with that lemniscate, that term, that's that figure 8, okay, a lemniscate. So towards the end of this sacred dance, Mockingbird, who had been calling in a rather frantic manner at the excitement above him, he'd been sitting in a tree below where Crow and hawk were circling, joined in the dance and began chasing Crow, leaving hawk to fly away towards the southwest. So it bears mentioning here that during this sacred aerial dance, Crow was calling loudly the entire time, while hawk made very little noise, calling softly only 2 or 3 times. I also noticed how hawk seemed to glide effortlessly through the air, very seldom flapping his wings, while in comparison, Crow had to work much harder with flight during this encounter. Now, on with my walk. So after Crow, hawk, and Mockingbird concluded their dance, I continued my walk and began to listen and decipher the important message I had just received. As I neared the end of my pathway, I could hear dove softly cooing in the near distance. Immediately, I knew this was a continuation of the message brought to me by the sacred dance of Crow, hawk, and Mockingbird. So I added this information to my list. But wait, we're not quite finished. Following the soft coo of dove, I heard the authoritative cock-a-doodle-doo of black rooster. It was at this point I decided to finish my short walk and go in and start writing down and finish deciphering this wonderful and incredibly detailed spirit message. So let's start with deciphering the message this amazing spirit gift brought us. Okay, Crow is the keeper of cosmic law and the traveler and messenger from within the void. Crow is able to fly into the void and return from within the void with messages. Hawk is the messenger of spirit. He carries messages directly from spirit to us. Mockingbird teaches us discernment. Mockingbird is able to mimic the songs and sounds of other birds, insects, and animals. This is where the discernment comes in. So, and also remind me one of these days to tell you about a mockingbird that used to tease me years ago. Dove teaches us and reminds us to follow the gentle and quiet pathway of inner peace. And black rooster warns us of the imperativeness of the fact it is time to wake up. You know me. I'm always going to utilize Metatronic numerology in deciphering messages such as this. So I do have Metatronic numerology I am keyword phrases to share through this message. So here we go. Crow. With Crow, there's a lot of 5 frequency involved. I'm pretty sure y'all are getting pretty familiar with 5 frequency. We've talked about that quite a bit lately. So 5 frequency is about change. Crow is showing us change is not only necessary, but is imminent. And he shows us that to be prepared for this imminent change, we need to strengthen and clean up our relationship with spirit. Remember, he was chasing hawk. The frequency most closely associated with Crow in this message is the 311 dual frequency. And its I am keyword phrase is, I am the creative life force, fully conscious and spiritually awakened. The 311 dual frequency shows us we are capable and able of creating from a spiritually conscious and awakened perspective and must now learn to do so. That's the change. Go back to those stones too, we talked about for change, okay? This frequency assists us in being able to interact and work with high vibrational frequency energies without becoming burned out and overloaded. This is very necessary if we are actually going to be of assistance to the collective. If we can't handle being in high frequency energies that are what this conscious creation process calls for, without them causing us physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual issues, we end up spending all of our energy in just trying to survive and have no energy left to consciously co-create our collective reality with. When we cannot maintain our frequency field in resonance with these higher frequencies that are what this conscious creation process calls for, what happens is they end up creating energetic stresses in our everyday lives. And then this manifests situations of high drama in our everyday physical life. I shared your daily meme just today, speaking to this fact. In it, I said, we all have situations in daily life that have to be handled. It is our perspective and our ability to not become emotionally attached to them that determine the level of drama we experience. That's Crow. Hawk. In a quiet and calm voice, Hawk speaks to us directly about our relationship with the level of consciousness we call spirit, God, universal mind, etc. In a very real way, this is about our relationship with ourself as the collective we are. In this message, the Metatronic numerology frequency most closely associated with Hawk is the 7 frequency, but it's the 16-7 frequency. Why is that important? Because the 16-7 frequency indicates a karmic imbalance. The 7 frequencies I am keyword phrase is I am intelligence seeking self. In this encounter, Hawk brought us the message that our collective relationship with spirit is currently unbalanced due to collective karmic influences. The 17-8 ATKI being one of the strongest contributors to that at this moment. We are being prompted as a collective to return to a healthy relationship with spirit. We see this in the counterclockwise direction Hawk and Crow were flying in during this sacred dance. The counterclockwise spin direction is the secondary spin of the creation energies. It holds our collective reality in form by stabilizing the expansion energies of the primary spin of creation. It is known as the chaos spin, or the energies of chaos, and is necessary for creating strong foundational boundaries to contain our collective reality experience within. In an overly simplistic way, you can say we are being told by Hawk that Spirit has sent us a message saying our reality is out of balance to a point where we are in danger of destroying it. This is happening because we are stuck in a pattern of circling over and over on the same path. But we were also shown that the way to avoid the destruction of the advancements we have made as a global societal civilization is to find a balance between the creative forces of expansion and the stabilizing forces of chaos by remembering the pathway of the lemniscate. It's all about balance, balance and perspective. Don't keep circling, repeating the same patterns over and over. It is when we move within this lemniscate form at the cross point that we expand. Okay? Mockingbird. Mockingbird. In this sacred dance, the message Mockingbird brought forth was that of discernment. Through his loud chatter and calls in an almost chaotic and frenzied manner, he was trying to get us to see and understand how absolutely vital it is we hone our powers of discernment, especially when it comes to the spiritual information we take into our energy field and choose to hold as our personal beliefs. This is because the beliefs we hold and the information we ingest, because it's energy, becomes what we focus our creative energies into. Thus, this ends up being the collective reality we create. Mockingbird is calling us to learn to become continually conscious in our thoughts, words, deeds, actions, emotions, beliefs, everything in every way, all the time. In this message, the Metatronic numerology frequency most closely associated with Mockingbird is the 6th frequency. The 6th frequency's I am keyword phrase is, I am love's responsibility. Through the 6th frequency, Mockingbird speaks to us of our personal responsibility to the family of man. In so many ways, we are each responsible for each other, not just our close family and friends, although this is where it starts. But in the greater picture, we each truly carry a portion of the responsibility for the entirety of humankind, past, present, and future. The 6th frequency is an energy that I describe as the energy of the divine feminine, the mother aspect of the goddess, to be a bit more exact. What does this mean to us, especially associated with our part of the responsibility to the collective? The mother teaches by and through the energy of love. She teaches because she wants to, not because she feels obligated to. And this makes a big difference in so many ways. Remember, energy. We're going to be talking a lot more about energy in the next chat. The mother teaches her children to think for themselves, to be self-sufficient and independent, while all the time being aware of their larger responsibility to the community. Here is the key. Yet here is the key. She teaches not just by words. In fact, she really tends to say few words. Instead, she teaches by her own actions and the deeds she performs in everyday life. She teaches by example how to move through life, how to react in every type of situation, and how to treat others. She is soft, loving, and gentle, and so is her way of teaching. She does not teach through the energies and actions of force, coercion, guilt, or intimidation. One more word about the message of Mockingbird concerning discernment. Take heed of any female or male that tries to teach through a forceful, energetic manner. Mockingbird says, hone your powers of discernment, for they are going to become ever more important as the collective moves through the next decades. He is saying it is our responsibility to become the conscious co-creators we really are, and not just give lip service to this concept. But he is also saying, do it from a place of love and a true desire to be of assistance to mankind, not from a mindset of obligation or fear of what might be if things don't change. that really makes all the difference. The dove. I'll talk about this a little later in another, but there is a direct connection, I'm going to share this here, to the Herkimer diamond and to the double terminated quartz through dove. Okay. Dove, what a beautiful energy. I'll be honest, on this walk during this experience, I personally experienced the energy of dove as a direct personal experience of the energy known as the Tao. Dove quietly calls to us from behind the whirling chaos of our collective reality experience, attempting to remind us to walk out of, to walk away from the unnatural world and reality experience back into the natural world and reality experience. In this message, the Metatronic numerology frequency most closely associated with dove is the 1144 dual frequency. And its I am keyword phrase is, I am the truth of the expanded multidimensional form illumined. This 1144 dual frequency helps us see past what is visible to us through our human mind filter. It is this filter that keeps us viewing and experiencing what we think of as real, what we think of as reality, from an extremely limited perspective. This filter is what sets our default perspective to the physical human perspective. It keeps us experiencing reality, life, even consciousness from a non-multidimensional perspective. And the truth is, it's meant to do this. It's how we experience this reality. You could call this the veil of illusion we set in place in order to be able to experience dense physical reality here in this plane of existence. This perspective that exists beyond the limited veil created by filtering every experience we have through the human mind filter is what can be referred to as the Tao, or the philosophy of the Tao. Dove, you could say, is the gentle, peaceful, natural voice of the Tao that speaks to us from beyond the veil, that ever so gentle and quiet voice of the Tao that seeps through the illusion and allows us to momentarily experience what exists beyond this reality we currently call physical home. One last thing here associated with dove. Dove speaks to us and reminds us that even here on this dense frequency planet, in this reality we are currently manifest within to experience physically, we can easily access the higher frequency dimensions we often refer to as home if we but hone those abilities necessary to do so. This planet is replete with forms of existence, gateways and portals, and situations of experience, such as the one we're speaking about now, that offer us access to the higher frequency realms. We simply have to know how to access them. On my walk, when Dove quietly spoke, I was reminded of a message from one of my guides back in 2019. And interestingly enough, his message came through on one of my daily walks at almost exactly the same point on the path that I was walking, within 5 days of being exactly 2 years from this one. Coincidence? I think not. And here it is. There's a subtle energetic clue hidden within this that speaks to us of how we access the energy we know here as the Tao, by the way, in this message. The message is, the structure of planet Earth lies in the powerful and magnificent, but the beauty of planet Earth lies in the delicately simple. It was a message, excuse me, from Tao Pen, a Lemurian monk, one of my guides. Black Rooster, to finish this up. Black Rooster speaks to us with a voice of authority. He gives us a warning call of the imperativeness of the fact it is time to wake up and move from out of the shadows and energies of the darkness of confusion. He leads the way out through the use of his familiar voice of authority and shows humanity the clearest pathway out from under the blanket of darkness of its current collective dark night of the soul. The sound of Black Rooster's cock-a-doodle-doo is one of the most powerful sound frequencies available to humanity in laying down a cymatic pattern showing the pathway to follow from out of chaos into the creation of peace and collective tranquility. In this message, the Metatronic numerology frequency most closely associated with Black Rooster is the 1111 dual frequency, that wake-up call. Its I am keyword phrase is, I am truth illumined through the spiritual revelation opened by the balancing of the divine rational mind and divine heart. Once again, a subtle reminder that you cannot separate the physical from the spiritual. Here within this frequency field, thoughts and emotions are in balance. Our discernment is strong, powerful, and clear. To state it bluntly, this frequency helps us fine-tune our powers of discernment to be able to see BS energetically long before the first words ever come out of someone's mouth. You can see here how this ties in very directly with the message of Mockingbird, that of discernment. Let me talk a little bit about why it is becoming ever so more important that we come to master as much as possible working with energy, which, by the way, like I've said, is what the next chat's going to be focused on. Humans often misrepresent themselves and the information they share because of several reasons. Everything from ignorance of the information they're sharing, example, trying to share information on a topic they really know very little to nothing about, to speaking through the mouth of inflated ego and more. And some humans will just flat out lie, consciously just flat out lie. They will purposely tell lies to support an agenda they have decided is so important. They care nothing about who is harmed along their pathway to seeing that agenda come to fruition. You need to learn, we need to learn, all of us, to listen to your internal guidance and notice these things, these energies, and become proficient at this type of work. When listening to another, especially another who is somehow setting off your internal red flag warning system in any way and causing you to doubt, even at a very subtle level, you need to ask Mockingbird and then Black Rooster for guidance. When you do, if you hear or experience an energy of chaotic, frenzied chatter from Mockingbird, or the cock-a-doodle-doo warning call of Black Rooster, maybe you should turn and walk away from the energy you are ingesting that is being offered by the one providing the energetic food in the form of information and spiritual teachings. At the very least, listen with an ear that is hearing energy. Listen with eyes, or see with eyes that are seeing energy. And feel with a nervous system that is feeling energy, instead of with only the ears that are hearing human words. I absolutely loved that message, experiencing it, being able to share it with you. Thank you for that. I hope you have taken away a lot, an enormous amount, hopefully, with what we've shared this evening. There's a lot of work to do. We know why we're here. We've got better understanding of why we're here. Let's put it that way. Because we matter. Remember, we're here because we matter. I want to allow the Krones, the other two Krones, to go ahead and say their goodbyes, and we're going to bring this very long chat to an end. And just as a reminder for those who are here with us live, there will be an after chat after we finish the recording. You're welcome to stay and chat and share, ask questions. We always enjoy that. So if you ladies would go ahead and say your goodbyes, we'll prepare to end this.
Hi. Wow, what a lot of information. Right at the beginning of this chat, I said it was a good job it was recorded so you can go back. I suggest that you do that, maybe in small bite-sized bits, because there's a lot of information to take in. You've got a whole month before the next one. So there we go, half an hour a day and repeat. Thank you for joining us today. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Over to KŌ B'A Jã.
Wow, what a chat. I feel so humble, actually. And thank you, Essence and Auri'An, for the information you shared with us. Now, can I add a little something at the end? While Essence was talking, actually, I was looking, remember the card I pulled at the beginning? And I've got a message, very short, I promise you it's only a short one. The collective wisdom of community inspires and motivates us while also stretching our comfort zone. Together, we can hold each other accountable for becoming our best self, reflect areas where we still need to develop and nurture our belief in one another. Community is love, growth, tribe, and family. Thank you again for being here tonight.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who has attended and with us live here this evening. We're truly very honored. Thank you to those who will join us in no time, no space. After this is posted, we're truly very honored by your presence as well. And we move forward. We continue the work and stay the course. Reach out when in need and give when possible. With that stated, we will do as always. We will end this chat on the sound of silence. So if everyone will just take a few deep breaths and prepare to bring this chat to an end. Kara unch che anapa'u nagian. In the language of Lemuria, I am the ancient future transitioning immortal. Kara unch che anapa'u nagian. Kara unch che prana. I am the ancient future breath of life. Kara unch che prana. Kara unch che prana. Kara unch che prana. Kara unch che